I think we became too successful as a protest movement. In a way, our success led to the new problem that you described, which is one of our demands was that we be hired, and that our experience, our lived experience, be the basis for our employment within the system. And again, I think it started in the United States first. We had, in the 90s, Patricia Deegan wrote very well about recovery. Judy Chamberlain, I wrote about it through our National Empowerment Center. So we motivated people to speak up within the system too. And we started getting training as peer specialists or peer assistants in the late 90s, early 2000, and that has spread. All the industrial countries now are starting to employ peers. A big sigh, though. I sigh because, just as you describe, in every one of these settings, peers enter at low status, with low power, and are relegated to meaningless roles often, just assisting in procedures and approaches that we don't agree with in terms of our own recovery. Mm-hmm. So we've developed this recovery philosophy through our writings, and I was on the White House Commission for Mental Health in 2002 and 2003, and we said recovery should be the basis of the new transformed system. And temporarily, the system started to actually move for maybe until 2010, 2011. Our major government agency for mental health started to promote recovery, actually within the federal government and within our Veterans Administration, and at state levels in California and Illinois, various large states started to say recovery should be the goal. And then there was backlash. The reaction against, the resistance by the status quo grew stronger and stronger. And it's been showing up in the last couple of years. One way is that peers are hired, but they have to work like clinicians. That's backlash. Initially, we actually had peer-run organizations that we ran the organizations ourselves. Mm-hmm. This is seen as not possible, that we can't run our own, because we come up with conclusions that people don't like. Like, you don't have to be on medicine for your whole life, or diagnosis is not the best way to describe these problems, or self-determination comes first. These ideas clash too much with the status quo, which is doctor knows best. And so we've lost, for instance, our National Empowerment Center and two others, national organizations that are run by people with lived experience. We lost the funding to do an annual conference. We started actually in the 70s, an annual national conference run by people with lived experience. Initially, it was called International Conference for Human Rights and Against Psychiatric Oppression. That was what it was called. Well, the government, our federal government in 1985 said, well, it's really important that you have this national conference, but you have to change the name. So it became the Alternatives Conference, which you may have heard of. I'm not sure. Have you?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. It's in its 35 years ago. We started that one in 1985, 33 years ago. And, but it became too successful. Our measure of success in our movement is resistance. the more resistance we face, the more successful we know we're being, because we're really trying to make a fundamental change in the system. We're really trying to reverse the way the system works. And so last year they said they wouldn't fund it anymore. The federal government took away funding. It wasn't a lot of funding, but it was $130,000 US, which is a fair amount of money, even in the U.S. And it's a lot of money for our movement, because we operate like a underground economy almost. we do things without hardly any money, but we need some money. So we decided we were going to run it anyway. And who were we? We had started a national organization run by people with lived experience back in 2006. And I'm actually the chairperson of it's a National Coalition for Mental Health Recovery. And it's our national voice, really. And we have 27 state organizations that are members, and then we have a number of smaller organizations. So we did it. We pulled it off this year in 2018. We had the conference, and it was historic, not only because we did it without government support, but also it was historic because we conducted it in Washington, D.C., in our nation's capital. They had not allowed us to do that before. When the federal government was funding the conference, they said, but you can't hold it in the Capitol, because they were afraid of us going to Congress and going to the Senate and re-educating Congress and Senate to understand that from the bottom up, we need to make change. They wanted, preserve the status quo primarily. We also did it at a university, so it was a lot less expensive instead of at a hotel. And we're in the process of planning one for 2019, right at this very time. Maybe you'll be able to come.